It has been amazing and so humbling that so far all the people we had on the show have had very different expertise, very different passion, and very different approach to design. And I think this really just highlights how interdisciplinary design is and how it is sort of the common vocabulary in many areas of work. And Emma Cogné here is no different. She is a craft designer who really dives deep into materials from our man made surroundings. Or, in other words, she explores materials from and in context of the surroundings. Emma's works cross pollinates across the boundaries of textile, craft, and contemporary furniture, and with this, she is trying to investigate how to add value and expressiveness to the living environment with textile as the medium. So, some awards that she has gotten include, but are not limited to, the Minister of Higher Education Prize Award winner in 2018 at Tremlin, the TL Magazine Award winner in 2018, and finalist of the Dorothy Waxman International Textile Design Prize in 2018 in New York. So, really pleased to have you, Emma.
Nice to meet you.
How did you come to growing such passion on materials or textile?
I think I've always nurtured a strong interest in arts that I first experimented at school by studying theater and performing arts. And I realized that I was attracted more by the backstage, and I began to wonder more about the dramatic aspect of space and objects. And so my passion for textile is born with a strong interest to create and think with my hands. And I've developed a knack for textiles by learning traditional techniques first, like weaving, embroidery, dyeing. And so I think I started by focusing on matter before gradually move towards volume and objects. And I think I went in Africa when I was a child, and also in other country, and my travels and my experiences also. I became more aware of the significance of preserving human know-how, and so I've come to think about textiles because it involves a cultural and a symbolic dimension that enables me to reconnect to human values.
And that's interesting coming from a theater background because, as you said before, you are interested in the set. So it's putting the materials in context that got you interested. And that really speaks through because we think your work is very unique. You approach materials or textile in the context of interior and exterior space instead of looking just at the object. So, what's the thought behind it?
I think I want to make visible a construction component with the project that you saw at Collectible, the Turborama partition. So I wanted to make visible material usually hidden inside walls, and to play with its personality and its narrative potential, to explore interior and exterior duality. So Turborama is a partition that brings to light an interpretation approach to material consumption and industrial standardization that's open up to multiple possible variations and allows development up to an architectural scale. So I think, yeah, this project, it's also because the materials that I choose to work is enough strong to resist outdoor use and even hostile environments. I wanted to give back to textile its original shelter functions as a means of isolating and protecting oneself. So I think, yeah, Turboama raises a new special textile approach able to be grafted to the existing architecture.
And when you put textile in context or in a space, that means function now becomes an integral part of it, right? As well as the aesthetics, because now you have to think also about the spatial experience, for example. So how do you view having function and aesthetics together in your works?
Yeah. So to me, when it comes to define an object, material and form are simultaneously shaped. My design process is both methodical and intuitive. There are always a back and forth between function and final aesthetics of the object, which are therefore indefinitely linked. I think the aesthetics of my work are based on limited tools and unusual processes with materials that involve an economical and alternative use of resources. So I'm attracted to techniques as effective or as rudimentary, using assembly methods to find a way for seemingly disparate elements to combine. So my work following collage and assembly principles, which already are an aesthetic choice by showing the way the object is manufactured. And so with Turborama, the partition, the function meets aesthetics by playing with rhythm, composition, and colors. And I made a lot of experiments on small and large scales and tasted different rope qualities to develop variations on filter density. So the visual impact of the objects makes sense on a larger scale, and color plays an essential role because Turborama is visible from distance, and it's like a skeleton that fills up space and interacts with architecture. Focusing on the filter quality, I played with lights that naturally produces graphic and vibrating shadows, so bringing up an upgraded visual and functional value.
Wow, that's already a long list of things that a single textile can do. So that's amazing. But I'm also pretty sure that through the work, you are also hoping to challenge the idea of what is textile and the life cycle that it traditionally has.
Yeah, I think so. I started this project by observing and gathering waste on construction sites that keep invading Brussels city. And I wanted to create stuff with what already exists, and reusing materials from my immediate surroundings. And I was really inspired by an architect and sociologist, Jonas Friedman, because he during the 70s he imagined spatial cities made up of mobile structure, in which the user himself designed his own built environments. So I was guided by this utopia, and so Turborama raises issues related to today's architecture, facing the housing and ecologic crisis. And so because I'm interested in the development of new refurbishments and self-construction practices to question new ways of living in common and shared space. So Turborama is designed to adapt itself to the user needs. It's like a customized textile partition that can define intermediate, temporary, or permanent areas whose organization evolves as our activity goes by. So I think as a result of this project, maybe I would like to involve more collective issues by doing local and social interventions. Because right now I'm working with an architect collective whose current work is centered on an alternative way of refurbishing an old monastery located in the north of France. And by bringing them my knowledge of textile materials, we worked together on designing canopy beds for the opening of an alternative hostel. And the furniture is inspired by both medieval canopy beds, 19th century thermal techniques, and Japanese minimalist habitats. So by superimposing textile walls, the bed clothing is made from industrial tops and linen that allows for thermal insulation and sensory well-being. So I think I see my practice as fundamentally collaborative, and it's through this experience and initiative that I make bridges between disciplines such as textile, craft, and architecture.
Yeah, it's really great actually to challenge the idea of a place. Like, what is a house really? Does it have to be enclosed within walls and furnished with this and that? Maybe it doesn't have to be this complex, right? And it actually takes me back to studying behavioral psychology back in college, where we sort of figured that placemaking, a lot of it is psychological more than physical. So when we refer to a home, we are actually talking about the territory more than we are talking about the physical space. So we can turn a corner into a home, and a family is our home too, right? As long as we feel safe, we feel secure, and we can relate to it. And all of these are not expensive to create. It doesn't have to be this architectural structure that is expensive to build, right? So on Turborama itself though, Emma, what was the making process like?
So yeah, Turborama is made from only ropes and plastic shed, and so it is hand knotted, which allows for variations in width, colors, and density, and can be placed in many different combinations and dimensions. So the plastic chest is made from polypropylene and is traditionally used to protect electric cables, and it's recyclable, inexpensive, and weather resistant. And so plastic chase is broken down and put back together like a construction set, and the rope connects the system, and it's used for its resistance, elasticity, because the partition is also flexible vertically.
Vertically, yeah.
Yeah. And each, for me it was important that each material remains intact. That means that the partition textile can be enlaced and reused. So I think I'm interested in thinking of textile as robust and sustainable materials, able to be easily handled, transport, and still functional even when worn out. So I think in my making process, I usually remove materials from their usual context and insert them into another to find surprising outcomes that could be translated into functional design proposal. And by going deep into matter, color, and line, it results in a vision that shows unexpected textures and infinite possibilities for variations. So that's what I like about textile. I think it's building, deconstructing, and always being able to remake and recreate. And I have grown an interest in materials from our daily artifacts, using textile techniques to carry and embody their concealed meanings. So textile make me think on how to connect things together in a physical and metaphorical way. And with this playful approach, I gather elements that seem contradictory at first glance until they can complement and enhance each other. And I think for me, it's always a process that I have when I define an object.
I see. So it's that surprise element. And I think early on in the conversation, you mentioned that textile involves a cultural and symbolic dimension that enables you to reconnect human values, right? What exactly do you mean by those human values?
Yeah, I think it's because textile is about gesture and heritage. That's why I mean with this human value. It's because you are very close to a tradition and with a know-how, and that's what I like with textile. It's also the history, the culture, and you can really mix things together to have an overview of what exists in the world of And to preserve, I think it's very important because a lot of techniques are disappeared. And I think with textile, I want to find a way to reinterpret it or valorize conventional technique with materials that with actual materials.
Right. So it seems like a lot of it is symbolic. Yeah.
Yeah, symbolic. It's because textile. It's like you have a lot of meaning behind textile in the pattern, in the color. Each choice or each detail, it's important. And
Nice. I'm just curious, what other fields are you interested in exploring with this textile making process?
I think I'm really interested to integrate textile in architecture, also in, of course, in a sustainable way, but maybe to involve the people to more think about the making process, because the partition that I design, it's a craft manufactured process, but it's also a bit long to do, and I wanted to make something bigger. So now I'm thinking how to improve the process,
Mm.
and that's why I was thinking about involve people in the process, or to find a way to produce maybe not too fast, because I like also that the process is not slow, but takes time. But I think in architecture, it could be very interesting to, because it exists already practice in about self construction or this kind of thing that could be
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, and maybe if you come from being inspired by theater set, you can also explore sound and
Yeah,
the cinematography, right? So thanks so much, Emma, for sharing. We really appreciate your time.
yeah.